For our next speech, we have one of our favorite and I think most polished speakers taking the lectern. But he's going to do an excerpt from a presentation that he did 2 weeks ago at the Toastmasters Leadership Institute. And we got our own myth buster here at Plantation Toastmasters. His speech, titled Public Speaking Myths Busted. Let's welcome Dave Goldwich.
Thank you, Gil.
Thank you.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Most of you are very interested in public speaking, which would explain why you're here tonight. You've probably watched videos, maybe taken some public speaking courses, and certainly read some books about speaking. You've probably been exposed to a lot of rules because Toastmasters has been around for like 100 years. Dale Carnegie wrote his books about 100 years ago, and this conventional wisdom has not changed much over the years. As I got into my public speaking journey, I started to question a lot of these myths. And I say myths because they're just not true. The first myth that perplexed me, you've probably heard this quote that the greatest fear most people have is speaking in public. Have you heard that before? And the second part of that axiom, people are more afraid of speaking in public than they are of dying. You've heard that? How can that be? There's so many things to be afraid of in life. Speaking in public? Really? You've been in public all your life, since you were born. And you've been speaking since you were probably about 1 year old. You speak in public with your friends, with your classmates, with colleagues, the cashier at the supermarket. What's the big deal? I think it's the way the poll was conducted. If you're about to give a speech and you feel stress, that's all you think about. How many of you really think a lot about dying? If you're fairly young and reasonably healthy, it's not really on the front burner. So we're not worried about dying, so we're not afraid of it. But if we're faced with a presentation or a speech, that's all we see, and it makes us anxious, and so we think that's scary. AJ, what's your biggest fear? Forget about dying or speaking. In the whole wide world, what's your biggest fear?
Getting trapped in an elevator.
Okay. Anne, what's your big fear?
Losing my glasses and being in a forest and I can't see.
These are easily dealt with. You've got the stairs. You've got a backup pair of glasses. Isabella, what's your big fear?
I'm afraid of heights.
Okay. Yeah, that's a little trickier. Just don't go up too high. But there are a lot of things to be afraid of. Dying. If you have a teenage child, getting a call in the middle of the night from the police. Being told by your doctor, sit down, I've got bad news for you. A lot of scary things. So speaking in public should not be one of them. And I just can't buy that. Another public speaking myth. You've probably heard the statistic that words are only 7% of the impact of a message. And that the rest is body language and nonverbal communication as well as your tone. And yet, words are very important. Mark Twain was a master wordsmith and probably the first professional speaker who really got rich speaking. He said, the word is important. There's a difference between the lightning bug and the lightning. And if you're not sure about that, just watch TV in a foreign language and see if you can get 7% of the message without understanding the words. Just looking for tone and body language probably wouldn't work. So words are important. Use the right words. Another statistic, if you want to call it a statistic, it's the number 3. They say you have to say your message 3 times. They say you have to tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. That might be true if you're teaching mathematics to 3rd graders. But if you're giving a business presentation to a sophisticated audience and you tell them the same thing 3 times, they're going to feel insulted, and rightly so. So know your audience, and you don't have to tell them 3 times. If you have to tell them 3 times, maybe it means you're not really clear on your message. So be clear, be concise, forget about the 3 times. Another myth that's especially widespread in Toastmasters is this idea that a speech that's 7 minutes and 29 seconds is somehow better than a speech that's only 4 minutes and 31 seconds. No. If you know what you want to say and you're clear and concise, less is more. Probably the most famous speech in American history was Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address. Only 232 words. It took him about 2 minutes to give the entire speech. He wasn't the only man speaking that day. The speaker before him was another renowned statesman named Edward Everett. He spoke for about 3 or 4 hours. You know Edward Everett, right? You know him? You've heard of him? Of course not. He talks too much. Less is more. Another public speaking myth is this idea that the audience cares and they want to listen to you. In Toastmasters, that's usually true. You come because you're interested in hearing from your friends. But in the world of business, a lot of times people don't really want to see you. They have to see you because it's their job. They have to listen to the presentations of various vendors. They have to go to the board of directors meeting. They have to do the job interview. They don't want to be there. And they've got other distractions to keep them amused. The little device right at their elbow. So you've got some competition. As I was listening to the introductions this morning, Jackie Ann said something interesting. She was talking about introverts, which reminded me of another public speaking myth. The idea that extroverts are better speakers, and that if you're an introvert, public speaking is probably not for you. That is so wrong. Most of the professional speakers I know are introverts. Does that sound strange to you? Think about it. Introverts usually think a lot, and they have a lot they want to share. Except if they try to share it in most public forums, they're going to be eaten alive by the extroverts. How can you compete with people who are social butterflies and who love to talk? But as a public speaker, you come to the event. Everybody in the room knows your job is to talk, and their job is to listen to you. And you can talk without interruption, without competition. And when you're finished, they might even clap for you. They might even give you a standing ovation. They'll come up to you and they'll compliment you. And they'll ask you questions and make you feel good. And then you can go home and retreat into your lonely corner like a good introvert. So I hope as you go along your public speaking journey, you question a lot of the wisdom that you read or hear and understand when you're listening to a myth that needs to be disregarded. Thank you.